Okay, hi and welcome to part 2 of this series that I'm doing. This is the first part of this week's project really. This is just me talking about moulds this week, and then I'll be using one of these moulds to do a project at the weekend. And that may well also be revisiting a previous project to do it. So anyway, moulds. I'll go right back to where I started, which was with plastic containers and anything that food came in or washed, and I still do wash it, keep it and use it for moulds. I used takeaway trays to make my pen blanks, and still sometimes if I have to make an odd shape I'll still use the same thing. There's lots and lots, you don't need to spend loads of money. There is lots of equipment out there that makes life easy, but it's not necessary if you're just doing a few bits and pieces every now and again. I use like these plastic mugs, which are about £1, to do most of the box casting stuff. They work really brilliant, and I don't use mould release, everything just falls out of them. Really good. Same with, I just use smaller ones. I just keep all of these little containers, they're brilliant, and as I say, nothing sticks to them. So, and food trays, there's lots and lots of things that you can use. And also, we'll start very simple, which is the corrugated plastic. You're just doing one odd shaped thing, you can use this. You just slice it really and it bends over lovely, and then you can hot glue onto this and it holds really well. So the corrugated plastic sheeting is really handy for making up moulds as you go along. The majority of moulds that I use are the silicone moulds. The reason that I use those is because it's easy for demoulding. After I finished with the plastic containers, I went on and used chopping boards and made my own HDPE ones. Now these are really good, but you've got all the screws in the back, and I used to find that a bit time consuming. And then as the box gets dismantled so many times, sometimes the edge don't meet properly, but I always use hot glue on all the edges just to stop any leaking. But they're very simple to make, although HDPE sheets can be quite expensive, because if possible you want a smooth surface one. Some of the chopping boards, they've got like a grating type of thing on the top. They work, but they're not as good, and you do need to make sure you use mould release for those. So that's it, you can start pretty simple with a chopping board. I've actually used, in the UK here, Tesco's £2 chopping boards to make moulds before. In fact, these are bits off it, because I keep bits like this because then they're handy to hot glue in place just to make small moulds or to adapt it, and they're also really good for making moulds. So when I make moulds myself, I just use, this is General Polycraft GP3481 is what I've been using. There is better ones than this to use, but this is just what I use, and you get this kind of ones, which means I can do custom sizes. They don't last ages and ages, you need mould release with them just to sort of prolong their life, but they're great for doing some different type of casting, or if you decide that you want to do a big blank, making a little silicone mould is really, this could be expensive, but it's worth it to get the moulds you want. Silicone moulds that I use, all my silicone moulds come from penblanksandmoulds.co.uk. This is my favourite. It's 3 2-blank moulds. I also do knife scales with this particular blank, this particular mould. I used mould release on it and it is just about prolonging the life. When I cast with the aluminium honeycomb though, you have to be really careful, because if it digs into here then it starts sticking, which is more so what sort of happened with that there. And this mould is getting old, it's been used so many times I can't even tell you, but as long as you use mould release on them, I mean I tend to use them until I actually have to rip the silicone off them, but it's a long time before it gets to that. So there's that type of moulds. You get your tube in moulds. So you put your tube into there and you use these bungs, which they can be cut down a little bit if you don't want them so long. But your tube goes onto it. And then you can you can decorate your tube and just cast in clear resin. They're really, really very handy actually. Always keep the bungs out of them as well when you're not using them. You can also get this type. Now these are extra long pen blank moulds here, but you can, pen blanks and moulds have this kit. So you get all the bungs for the tubing. So you get the tube in bungs and you can cast those to whatever size you want really. And they hold really, really well in there. And you also get some spare bungs. So if you just want, if you're just going to go ahead and make a pen blank for one pen, you can put it in there where you need it and just pour your blank into it. So easy to demould because everything just pushes out of the silicone moulds. So those are really, really handy. And that particular mould there is pretty versatile because there's a lot you can do with it. I mean, I could be casting 3 tubed pens in there at the same time as casting, you know, a part of a pen blank for the size of pen that I need. So that's the other type. This vertical casting mould, this is a new one by Pen Blanks and Moulds. I think I'll be doing some casting in this for this weekend, and I'm going to show you how to demould from this. So they're really, really good because you get lovely accurate blanks out of them. I'm going to show you some. Yeah, you get lovely accurate blanks out of those. Now the size of these ones is 20 mils. They're round, so obviously you save a bit of resin doing it that way. And they took hardly any resin to fill them. So, you know, they're pretty simple. Use mould release with these as well. And obviously there's a lot of suction in these moulds, and that will be the bit that I'll be showing you how to demould from these. But these are really, really good. And obviously you can just cast one at a time. So that's those ones. The other types of moulds that I do use is from metal clays. I use the lizard blanks. Love the lizard blanks. The greatest advantage of those is the fact that I do put mould release in. You don't necessarily have to, but I do put mould release in. But then all I do is unscrew this bit here and I just bang them actually on something hard, and the block will completely fall out. They're very, very nicely made, really nice quality. It is one of my favourite blanks, my favourite moulds to use. You also, with this particular one, I've got this top part which, if I was casting pine cones or something in there, I'd be able to push this lid down onto it and it would keep the pine cones in deep into the resin, which is you know, also a handy extra with that. I've not tried Lizard Blank's other moulds, but I definitely recommend them. I like the quality of them, they're very, very good. And I was sent out this from Taylor's Murfield to test out. Now this is the Solimould. I've done a review on it. It's also a great mould, but the one thing you do need to remember is the mould release. If you don't put mould release in this, you ain't going to get your blanks out. So as long as you're quite cautious about that, these are perfect. You also get the tube-in bungs for these. They're slightly smaller. I find it's sort of around about 18 mils, these blanks from this mould. So sometimes that is a little bit small for me. Sometimes I like a little bit bigger. They also, I noticed that you can get these stacking as well for your pressure pot. So they've got little feet that go onto these corner ones and it'll hold them in a stack. So you can get lots and lots of those done. And you know, there's no, the advantage of this is once you demould, there's actually no other work to be done. whereas when I do the slabs I have to cut them, sand them, you know, lacquer them, ready for sale. But you don't have to do any of that with that. So that it's a Solimould. Don't use it very often because I don't often need to do single blanks like that. Is all my opinion really. Some people only use HDPE. My favourite is silicone. So I'm always looking for as many different shapes and sizes as I can possibly get, because you know, the demoulding is just so easy, and you know, they fit in the pressure pot. You can stack them. I've got like a shelving unit and you can stack them on that. So yeah, when it comes to moulds, money doesn't need to be into it really. You can make moulds from absolutely anything. But if you're planning on doing some more stuff, it's definitely worth investing in these big types of moulds. They're there ready and easy to use. So that's this week's video, just about moulds. So this is just what I use. I mean, I do have a lot of other moulds, but I didn't need to take them on here. This is just the variety of what I use. If you're wanting silicone moulds, go to penblankenmoulds.co.uk. He's got a massive selection. If you're wanting your lizard blanks, go to Metal Clays, and they also sell Solimoulds, but Taylor's Murfield also sells Solimoulds. So lots and lots of options out there for you. So the weekend, there may be one or possibly two different castings coming in at the weekend. So hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions, do leave them below. You can always come back at a later date. I answer all the questions, even if it's 6 months down the line. I'll still come back and answer those questions. And hopefully under this video with the comments will become, you know, quite a lot of information there to help you out. I may well do some more stuff eventually, some blogs and stuff on the website, which is highlandboxes.com, looking at the moulds and the uses of them. So that may well come up. Hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much for watching.